Chapter 2 starts. The Rishi continued. In earlier times, there was a battle between the gods and the Asuras, and it lasted for 100 years. The leader of the Asuras was Mahisasura, and the leader of the gods was Purandara. The Asura was immensely valiant, and the soldiers of the gods were defeated. Mahisasura defeated all the gods and became Indra. Having been defeated, all the gods, headed by the lotus born Prajapati, went to the place where Isha and the one with Garuda on his banner were. They told them in great detail about everything Mahisasura had done and about how the gods had been worsted. He has usurped the positions of Surya, Indra, Agni, Anila, Indu, Yama, Varuna, and the others, and taken them over himself. Because of the evil-souled Mahisa, all the gods have been thrown out of heaven and are roaming around on earth like mortals. We have thus told you what the enemy of the immortals has done. We have sought refuge with you. Please think about how he can be killed. Madhusudana heard the words of the gods. Shambhu furrowed his forehead in rage. The face of the one who wields the chakra was also full of anger. Great masses of energy emerged from the bodies of Brahma, Shankara, and all the other gods, Shakra and the others. All of this energy came together and united. This energy was so fierce that it blazed like the summit of a mountain. The gods saw it blazing in all the directions. This unmatched energy emerged from the bodies of all the gods. It pervaded the three worlds and united in the form of a woman. Her face was formed out of Bhava's energy. Her hair was formed out of Yama's energy. Vishnu's energy formed her arms. Soma's energy formed her two breasts. And the space between them was formed by Indra's energy. Varuna's energy formed her hips and thighs. Her buttocks were formed out of the earth's energy. Brahma's energy formed her feet, and Arka's energy formed her toes. Her fingers were formed out of the energy of the Vasus, and Kubera's energy formed her nose. Her teeth were formed out of Prajapati's energy. Her three eyes originated in Pavaka's energy. Her eyebrows were formed out of Sandhya's energy. Her ears were from Anila's energy. All the other gods contributed their energies to form the auspicious one. She was fashioned out of that mass of energy contributed by the gods, and on seeing her, the immortals suffering from Mahisa were delighted. All the gods gave her their own respective weapons. Desiring victory, they exclaimed victory. In Jayanti's name, the wielder of Pinaka created a trident out of his trident and gave it to her. Krishna created a chakra out of his own chakra and gave it to her. Varuna gave her a conch shell and Hutashana gave her a spear. Maruta gave her a bow and a quiver filled with arrows. Indra, lord of the immortals, created a Vajra out of his own Vajra and gave it to her. The one with 1,000 eyes also took the bell from the elephant Airavata and gave it to her. Yama gave her the staff of destiny, and the lord of the oceans gave her a noose. Prajapati Brahma gave her a string of aksha beads and a water pot. The creator of the day permeated all the pores in her body with his rays. Kala gave her a sword and a sparkling shield. The ocean of milk gave her a sparkling necklace and garments that do not decay. Vishwakarma gave her a divine jewel for her head, earrings, bracelets, half-moon-shaped sparkling armlets for all her arms, sparkling anklets, an excellent necklace, rings and jewels for all her fingers, an extremely polished battle axe, many different kinds of weapons, and impenetrable armor. For her head and for her breasts, the ocean gave her garlands made of lotuses that do not fade, an extremely beautiful lotus. The Himalayas gave her a lion as a mount, and many kinds of gems. The lords of riches gave her a drinking vessel that was never emptied of liquor. Shesha, the lord of serpents, who holds up the entire earth, gave her a necklace made out of serpents and ornamented with magnificent jewels. All the other gods gave the goddess ornaments and weapons. Thus honored by the gods, she repeatedly roared and laughed loudly. The sound of that terrible roar filled the entire firmament. The loud sound echoed everywhere. All the worlds were agitated and the oceans quivered. The earth quaked and all the mountains started to move. Delighted, the gods exclaimed, "Victory to the one who is astride a lion." The sages devotedly bent their bodies down and praised her. On seeing that the three worlds were agitated, the enemies of the immortals rose themselves in armored and armed their soldiers. Enraged, Mahisasura shouted, "What is this?" Surrounded by a large number of asuras, he rushed towards that sound. He saw the goddess there, pervading the three worlds with her energy. The earth was indented from her feet pressing down. Her crown etched the sky. The sound of her bow twanging agitated all the nether regions. She stood there, enveloping all the directions with her 1,000 arms. After this, a battle commenced between the goddess and the enemies of the gods. Many kinds of astras and shastras were unleashed, and the directions blazed. The great Asura, known as Chikshura, was Mahishasura's general, and he fought with her. There was another Asura named Chamara, armed with the four kinds of forces. Another great Asura named Ugra fought with 60,000 soldiers. Mahahanu fought with 1 crore soldiers. The great Asura Asiloma fought with 5 crore soldiers. In that battle, Bashkala fought with 6 million soldiers. In that battle, Ugradarshana fought with elephants and horses, surrounding himself with crores of chariots. There was the great Daitya known as Bidala. In that battle, he surrounded himself with chariots and fought with 50,000 chariots. There were others who surrounded themselves with hundreds of thousands of chariots, horses, and elephants. In that battle, those gigantic asuras fought with the goddess. In the battle, Mahisasura surrounded himself with thousands of crores of chariots, tuskers, and horses. Using iron clubs, javelins, spears, bludgeons, swords, battle axes, and double-edged swords, they fought against the goddess in that battle. Some hurled spears, others hurled nooses. They tried to kill the goddess by striking her with swords. The goddess Chandika seemed to toy with them as she severed their astras and shastras with showers of her own astras and shastras. There were no signs of exertion on her face, and the gods and the rishis praised her. Thereafter, Ishavari released her astras and shastras on the bodies of the asuras. The manned mount of the goddess angrily shook its mane like a conflagration raging in the forest. It roamed around amidst the Asura soldiers. As she fought in the battle, Ambika breathed heavily, and from those breaths, hundreds and thousands of ganas were created. The powers of the goddess enhanced their powers. With battle axes, spears, swords, and double-edged swords, they killed large number of asuras. They treated that battle like a great festival and sounded large drums. Other ganas blew on conch shells, and still others sounded drums. Showering clubs and arrows and using swords, the goddess slaughtered hundreds of large asuras. Others were confounded by the sound of the bell and were brought down. She bound other asuras with the noose and dragged them along the ground. With the sharp sword, some were severed into two, others were brought down. Some were uprooted and struck with the club and lay down on the ground. Struck severely with the club, some vomited blood. Others lay down on the ground, their chests shattered with the trident. With the incessant torrent of arrows, some were sliced in that field of battle and resembled mountains. Those who had afflicted the gods started to give up their lives. Some had their arms severed. Others had their necks sliced off. Some lost their heads, others were torn apart in the middle. With legs severed, some giant asuras fell down on the ground, sliced by the goddess. Some had only an arm left, others had only one leg left. With heads severed, some fell down, and the headless torsos rose up again. Sieging excellent weapons, those headless torsos fought against the goddess. To the sound of the blaring of trumpets, some started to dance in the field of battle. With heads severed, headless torsos held swords, javelins, and spikes in their hands. Other giant asuras told the goddess, "Wait, wait." In the battle that made the body hair stand up, their limbs overflowed with torrents of blood. Chariots, horses, elephants, and asuras fell down on the ground. The great field of battle was such that it could no longer be passed. Instantly, those torrents of blood led to a great river being formed, and it flowed between the asura soldiers through the horses, elephants, and asuras. In a short while, Ambika conveyed that large army of asuras to its destruction, like the fierce consuming a large pile of grass and wood. Shaking its mane, the lion emitted a loud roar. It seemed to rob the breath of life from the bodies of the enemies of the immortals. Like that, the ganas of the goddess fought with the giant asuras. The gods praised them and released showers of flowers from the firmament. Chapter 3. The Rishi said, the giant asura Chikshura, the commander of the army, saw that the soldiers were being killed. Filled with rage, he started to fight against Ambika. In the battle, the asura showered down floods of arrows on the goddess. It was just as if a cloud was showering down rain on the summit of Mount Meru. As if in sport, the goddess severed those arrows. With her arrows, she slaughtered the horse riders and the horses. She instantly severed his bow and the standard that rose up high. When his bow was severed, she pierced his limbs with her arrows. His bow was severed. He was without a chariot. His horses were killed. His charioteer was killed. Wielding a sword and a shield, the asura rushed towards the goddess. With the sword sharp at the edges, he struck the lion on the head. With a great deal of force, he struck the goddess on her left arm. O son of a king! As soon as the sword touched the arm, it shattered into fragments. His eyes turned red with rage, and he seized a trident. The giant asura hurled this towards Bhadrakali. It blazed in its energy like the solar disk in the sky. When she saw the trident was descending, the goddess hurled her own trident, and it shattered the trident and the giant asura into 100 fragments. The general of Mahisha's army was Chamara, the afflictor of the gods. When he saw that the immensely valiant one was dead, he advanced astride an elephant. He quickly hurled a spear towards the goddess Ambika. When she uttered Humkara, that spear fell down on the ground, losing all splendor. Seeing that his spear had been brought down, Chamara was filled with rage and hurled a javelin. But she severed it with her arrows. The enemy of the gods was seated on the elephant's shoulder. Leaping up, the lion grabbed him and started to wrestle with him. While they fought, both of them fell down from atop the elephant onto the ground. Extremely angry, they fought and struck each other extremely terrible blows. The enemy of the deer struck him with force and brought him down. With a bow of its bow, it severed Chamara's head. In the battle, the goddess killed Udagra with boulders and trees. She brought down Karala with her teeth, fists, and palms. The goddess angrily crushed Uddhavata by bringing down her mace on him. She killed Bashkhala with a javelin and Tamara and Andhaka with arrows. With her trident, the three-eyed Parameshwari killed Ugravirya and Mahahanu. With her sword, she severed Bidala's head from his body. She used her arrows to convey Durdhara and Durmukha to Yama's eternal abode. Kalratri brought down Kala with Destiny's staff. She struck Ugradarshana with a fierce blow of her sword. In the battle that was like a festival, she severed Asiloma with her sword. At this act of the goddess, the Ganas and the lion started festivities, exclaimed victory, and exultantly slapped themselves. When his own soldiers were being destroyed in this fashion, Mahisasur assumed the form of a buffalo and terrified the Ganas. He bit some and struck some with his hoofs. He lashed some with his tail and drove others away with his horns. Some were brought down through his force, others were confounded by his roars. The gust of his breath brought others down on the ground. The Asura attacked the army of Pramathas and brought them down. When he struck the lion, the great goddess Ambika was enraged. The immensely valiant one was also enraged and tore up the ground with his hooves. He flung mountains down with his horns and roared. As he roamed around with great force, the earth was agitated and shattered. Struck by his tail, the ocean overflowed in every direction. The clouds were struck by his horns and turned to shreds. The gust raised from his breathing brought down hundreds of mountains from the sky. The great Asura descended in great rage. When she saw this, the angry Chandika got ready to bring about his death. She flung her noose and bound the great Asura in this. When he was bound in this way in that great battle, he abandoned his form of a buffalo and instantly assumed the form of a lion. When Ambika severed its head, he was seen to be in the form of a man holding a sword in his hand. When the goddess quickly cut down the man who was wielding a sword and a shield, he assumed the form of a gigantic elephant. The elephant dragged the large lion with its trunk and roared. When it was dragging in this way, the goddess used a sword to slice off the trunk. At this, the giant Asura again assumed the form of a buffalo and agitated the three worlds with all the mobile and immobile objects. Chandika, the mother of the universe, was enraged and repeatedly drank some excellent liquor. With her eyes red in rage, she laughed out aloud. Intoxicated with strength and valor, the Asura also roared. Using its horns, it flung mountains towards Chandika. She countered and pulverized them with torrents of arrows. When she spoke to him, because she was intoxicated, the syllables that emerged from her mouth were not clearly articulated and were slurred. The goddess said, "O foolish one, roar for a short while. Roar until I have finished drinking this liquor. You will soon be slain by me and all the gods will roar." Having said this, she climbed astride the giant Asura. She pressed down on his throat with her foot and struck him with the trident, restrained by the valor of the goddess, who was pressing down on the buffalo's throat with her foot. He could only half emerge from the buffalo's mouth. Though only half of his body could emerge, the giant Asura continued to fight. With a large sword, the goddess severed his head and brought it down. The one named Mahisha and his large number of soldiers and well-wishers had confounded the three worlds, but he was killed by the goddess. When Mahisha's soldiers were slaughtered in this way, the three worlds, the gods, the asuras, and humans uttered words of victory. When he was slain, all the Daitya soldiers uttered words of lamentation. All the large number of gods were filled with great delight. The gods and the divine Maharishis praised the goddess. The lords among the Gandharvas sang and large numbers of Apsaras danced. Chapter 4 starts. The Rishi said, when Mahishasur was killed with Indra at the forefront, all the gods bent down and praised the goddess. The evil-souled and extremely valiant one was an enemy of the gods. When he was killed and his army destroyed, the large number of gods, Shakra and the others, praised the goddess with lowered heads, necks, and shoulders. When their body hair stood up in delight, their bodies were beautiful. The gods said in eloquent words, O goddess, everything in this universe, the large number of gods, embodied beings and their powers were created through your own powers. O Ambika, you are worshipped by all the gods and Maharishis. We are bowing down faithfully before you. Please ensure what is beneficial for us. Your powers are unmatched. The illustrious Anant, Brahma and Hara lack the powers to describe them. O Chandika, please turn your mind towards protecting the entire universe and destroying everything that is inauspicious. You are Shri for the performers of good deeds. For those who are evil-souled, you are Alakshmi. For those who possess understanding, you are the intelligence in their hearts. You are faith for the virtuous. For those who possess the power of noble birth, you are modesty. Therefore, we are bowing down before you, O goddess, protect the universe. Your form cannot be comprehended. How can we describe it? You are the immensely valiant one. You are the one who repeatedly destroys asuras. O goddess, among the large number of gods and asuras, who can describe your extraordinary conduct in battles? O goddess, though you possess the three gunas, you are the cause behind the entire universe. You cannot be comprehended by Hari, Hara and the others. You are the refuge for everything. Everything in the universe has originated from your paths. You are the original one. You are supreme Prakriti without any form. O goddess, when your name is uttered in all the sacrifices, all the gods are satisfied. You are Swaha. People pronounced you as Swadha when they seek the satisfaction of the large number of ancestors. You are the unthinkable cause behind emancipation. You are the great woe. You are studies. You are the objective of attentive self-control. You are the essence of truth. You are the knowledge sought by sages who cleanse all their taints for the sake of emancipation. O goddess, you are the supreme and illustrious one. Sound is your Atman. You are the spotless hymns of Rig Veda and Yajur Veda. You are the reservoir of the beautiful songs and chanting of hymns of the Sam Veda. O goddess, you are all three. You are the illustrious one who is responsible for the creation and preservation of the entire universe. O goddess, you are intelligence. You know about the essence of all the sacred texts. You are Durga. You are like a boat that enables one to cross the ocean of samsara, which is so very difficult to cross. You are unattached. You are Shri, the only one who resides in the heart of Katava's killer. You are Gauri, the only one who has created a residence with the one who has the moon on his forehead. Your face, with the trace of a sparkling smile, resembles the disk of the full moon. Your complexion possesses the beauty of excellent gold. It is extraordinary that the angry Mahishasura could even glance towards you with eyes of violence. O goddess, your wrathful and furrowed face was terrible to behold, but was like the moon when it has just arisen. It is extremely extraordinary that on glancing at that face, Mahishasura did not immediately give up his life after beholding the enraged destroyer who is capable of remaining alive. O goddess, please show your favors. You are the supreme one who is created for the universe. When you are angered, you destroy lineages. Since you destroyed Mahishasura's extremely large army, this is now known. When you are pleased with people, they are always blessed with prosperity and respected in habitations. They possess riches and fame. The various classes of their relatives do not suffer. They always have devoted sons, servants, and wives. O goddess, it is through your favors that a man who is devoted to dharma, performing good deeds every day, goes to heaven. O goddess, it is indeed through your favors that fruits are reaped in the three worlds. O Durga, when you are remembered, you take away the fears of all creatures. When you are remembered, you bestow health, excellent intelligence, and everything auspicious. You are the one who takes away the fear of poverty and misery. Who else brings every kind of benefit? Who else is always worshipped? When they were killed, there was happiness everywhere in the universe. Because of their sins, let them reside in hell for a long time. Because they died in the field of battle, they should go to heaven. O goddess, you are the one who decides this before killing them. When you looked at them, were you not capable of reducing all the enemies of the gods to ashes? Nevertheless, you used weapons. Purified by weapons, let these enemies obtain superior worlds. O virtuous one, for the sake of their welfare, perhaps that is what you decided. When the Asuras glanced at the fierce radiance emanating from your sword, or the dazzle from the point of your trident, they did not perish. That must have been because they also looked at the cool radiance of your moon-like face. O goddess, your conduct is that of pacifying those who are wicked in conduct. Your pleasant form is unthinkable and is unmatched by anyone else. They robbed the valor of the gods, and you manifested your form to take away the energy of the enemy. This is nothing but an act of compassion. Who can your valor be compared with? Your form creates fear in the enemy. Where else is there such a form, O goddess? In the three worlds there is no one else who exhibits cruelty in battle, and is also one who bestows boons. In the field of battle, you slay the enemy and save all the three worlds. You conveyed large numbers of the enemy to heaven. For us, you removed the fear that emanated from the enemies of the gods. We bow down to you, O goddess. Use your trident to save us. O Ambika, use your sword to save us. Use the sound of your bell and the twang of your bowstring to save us. O Chandika, save us in the east, save us in the west, save us in the south. O Ishwari, use your whirling trident to save us in the north. Your amiable form wanders around in the three worlds. There are also extremely terrible forms. Use all these to protect the world. O Ambika, your delicate hands hold a sword, a trident, a mace, and many other weapons. Use those to protect us from every direction. The gods praised her in this way. They used divine flowers that grew in the grove of Nandana, fragrances and unguents to worship the mother of the universe. All the gods devotedly worshipped her with divine and fragrant incense. Pleased, the one with the excellent face spoke to all the gods who were prostrate before her. The goddess said, O gods, I am extremely pleased with the praise and the worship. I will give you everything that you desire and everything that you have asked for. I do not know which other extremely difficult task remains to be accomplished. Hearing the words of the goddess, the residents of heaven replied. The gods said, O illustrious one, you have accomplished everything and nothing else remains to be done. You have killed Mahishasura, our enemy. O Maheshwari, however, whenever we remember you, please take away whatever is causing us a great hardship. O one with the unblemished face, if there is a mortal person who tries to satisfy you with the hymn we have uttered, please confer on him wealth, prosperity, wives, and enhancement of riches. O Ambika, you are the one who can always confer those on those who seek refuge with you. O King, thus propitiated by the gods for the sake of the universe and for their own selves, Bhadrakali agreed and vanished. O king, I have thus described to you how the goddess manifested herself in earlier times from the bodies of the gods for the sake of the welfare of the three worlds, for the sake of slaying wicked Daityas like Shumba and Nishumbha, for the sake of protecting the worlds, and for the sake of showing compassion to the gods. She manifested herself again from Gauri's body. I will recount this to you exactly. Listen. Chapter 4 ends.